All right, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Thursday, January 23rd, if you can believe it. Polar vortex is here. It's still pretty cold over most of the country. Sub-zero temperatures in much of the country. But we're here with all the news of the day, as always, coming to you live on Free Speech TV and, of course, on our video stream, which is TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV, and Free Speech TV on your satellite dish on DirecTV or the Dish Network. What's going on? Well, the former governor of Virginia, Bob McDonnell, indicted, as we said yesterday, on 14 counts of taking gifts in exchange for state favors while he was governor. He and his wife both indicted. He says that if he is guilty, then so is President Obama guilty for any favors he might have done for campaign contributors. Why is it that Republicans have to turn every little problem, every little issue into an attack on President Obama? Just accept responsibility for their own actions. Why don't they? Up in New York City, Mayor Bill de Blasio has apologized to the wealthiest people in New York, those on the Upper East Side, those on whom he wants to raise taxes, because they're complaining that their limos got stuck in the snow. And he, of course, has said, well, he could do a better job of plowing the streets up there so their limousine drivers can get around a little easier. President Obama preparing for his big meeting in March 27, going to Rome, to the Vatican, to meet with Pope Francis. They're going to sit down, you bet, and talk about income inequality. We got so much to talk about today. I know you're going to want to join the conversation. You can do so at 866-55-PRESS. That's our toll-free number for the Bill Press Show this Thursday morning.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
Your TV and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, we'll get there. Don't worry about it.
Hang on just a second.
Hang on. Can we start in about...
Just give us a few minutes.
Yeah.
Come on.
I'm telling you, airplanes don't have to run on time. Why is the damn radio show have to start on time? Good morning, everybody. So good to see you this morning. Here we are. And it is still cold as hell in Washington, D.C., and in most of the country. Unheard of low temperatures, the old polar vortex. Maybe we're getting used to it. I don't know. Whatever. Good to see you today. We are the Bill Press Show on your local progressive talk radio station. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Next 3 hours, we're going to be here together, and that's going to be a lot of fun. We're coming to you also on Free Speech TV. If you got a satellite dish, you're lucky enough, go to DirecTV and make us your morning viewing and conversation, as well as on TawkrTV, TAWKR-TV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. We'll tell you what's going on. You tell us what you think about it all at 866-55-PRESS here on this Thursday morning. Coming to you live from our nation's capital. A pretty sleepy, cold capital today with the House and the Senate still out and President Obama, for the most part, behind the door closed meetings at the White House with one exception yesterday. And I got to tell you, winter takes its toll. At the briefing yesterday, the room was about half full. You know, sometimes you have to fight for a seat in the briefing room. Yesterday, you could have any seat you wanted.
How fun.
We did have that blizzard.
Hardly a blizzard. I've been through blizzards. That was no That was no blizzard. It was just a nice little dusting of snow. At any rate, good to have you with us. And hell, the gang's all here. Peter Ogburn and Lisa Murphy, good morning. Good morning.
Hi there.
Good morning. Happy Thursday.
Yep, indeed. Our second favorite day of the week.
Next to Monday, of course, when we all get to rejoin after the boring weekend.
Yeah. Alicia Cruz here, all the way down from Balmer with her Carol Press scarf on this morning. We just about all are decked out in Carol Press scarves this morning. Going to put mine on. And she's got the phones covered, and Cyprian Bolding here with the video cams. The lights and the cameras are on. We are there on Free Speech TV, thanks to Cyprian. And, we talked a little bit about the Richard Sherman's comments last Sunday about Michael Crabtree, right? Mm-hmm. Saying, yeah, he stinks.
I'm the greatest in the game.
He stinks as a receiver. I'm the greatest in the game and everything. I still don't. We talked about it Monday morning, just thought it was funny, that he, in that interview, that's what he said about how great I am. I'm the greatest. I mean,
there has been an avalanche.
Muhammad Ali, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's been an avalanche.
Muhammad Ali never said, oh, the other guy's really better than I am. I was just lucky. No, said I'm the greatest. I'm the greatest.
Sports writers have been climbing over each other to write their think piece on Richard Sherman and what this means for the NFL and the professional athlete.
And why are they so critical of him? Why are they dumping on him? Why are so many people saying, this was terrible for him to say that?
There are.
That was a phenomenal play.
Of course it was.
Yes,
it was the play of his life.
Yeah,
certainly of his career.
Right.
But I mean, these sports writers want to make this out to be like that this is some unprofessional, unsportsmanlike thing that he would come out and
crazy. And they're calling him, the worst is they're calling him a thug. And yesterday I admire him he just came out and said, you know what they really mean. Here's his interview on ESPN yesterday.
The only reason it bothers me is because it seems like it's the accepted way of calling somebody the N-word nowadays. It's like everybody else said the N-word, and then they say thug, and they're like, oh, that's fine. And that's where it's kind of, it kind of takes me aback, and it's kind of disappointing because they know. What's the definition of a thug, really?
Yeah. I have to say, if it had been a white player, they would not be calling him a thug.
Nope.
No, that word thug does have some extra meaning when it comes to an African American, and I think he called it out yesterday.
He's not just your average professional
he's pretty
athlete.
Smart.
He went to Stanford. He writes a column.
Yeah,
he's a very smart guy. He's not just some guy who is out there running his mouth just to run his mouth.
Right. So I think he will have the last word and the last laugh in this case at all. But a great lineup for you today. Wayne Slater, a good friend of ours from the Dallas Morning News, who has written this very controversial article about Wendy Davis. That's where we're going to start here at the top of the hour. Also, Peter Fenn, one of our best friends, great Democratic strategist, will be here in studio with us as a friend of Bill a little bit later. And we'll have reporters from Media Matters and from Politico as well. All of that coming up on this very chilly Thursday morning. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. Speaking of Richard Sherman, he's going to be playing in the big Super Bowl a week from this weekend, so in about 10 days or so. Now, if you aren't going to be in front of a TV, there's some very good news. Fox Sports Go, their app that they have, that you can put on your iPad or on your iPhone, will be showing the Super Bowl for free, streaming on iPads and streaming on iPhones and your mobile device.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
Isn't that cool? I mean, first of all, if you're not in front of a TV for the Super Bowl,
you could be on a train.
I don't know where the hell else
you could be on the train. Okay.
You should honestly book your travel around the Super Bowl. Don't travel.
Well, I'm just saying,
But if you are
silly
enough to not be in front of the TV, you have the option now. For free.
All right.
For free. And I like that.
No, I think it's great.
Here's something that I don't like as much. This is your daily Google Glass update. So there is a new app that you can use with Google Glass, and it's called Sex with Google Glass. And what it is you and the partner that you were going to have sex with are both wearing Google Glass, and it records what you're doing while you're making love, and you can watch back and watch sex from your partner's point of view. So if you've ever wanted to know,
you can do that with an iPhone.
You can. knows? But I mean,
why do you need your Google glasses?
Well, it's exactly what someone else would be seeing through their eyes, right? Because it's Google Glass, it's right on your face, and like with an iPhone, you would
yes
have to use a hand to hold the phone, and then you might be limited in your.
Well, and also Google Glass.
Well, I don't want to get too graphic here, but I usually take my glasses off when I'm having sex.
Google glasses are very attractive, so it actually might add to the occasion.
I don't find that I need my glasses.
I don't. Well, look, you need to see what you're doing.
No, you don't. Do we want to continue with this?
No, I don't think I do. Frank McCourt, the author, Frank McCourt, you're familiar, right?
Mm-hmm. Why is your face red?
I can't segue from this. Author Frank McCourt, it turns out he not only is a great author, he has a wonderful sense of politics. If you call his home phone, his answering machine has a very unique phone message. It just says, "And remember, while all conservatives are not stupid, all stupid people are conservative." That's his voicemail.
That's great.
I love that. Put your glasses back on.
Angelus Ashes. Yes,
Yeah.
Frank McCourt. Well, I got to tell you, if you thought the Republican war on women was dead, no, it's not. It lives. It's not dead. It just moved to Texas. Yeah, maybe you've heard about the latest. Of course, we're talking about the latest Republican attacks on Wendy Davis. Now, she's a state senator. She's the one that came to national attention when the Texas Republicans were trying to ram through some pretty extreme anti-abortion measure, which, by the way, they ended up doing through a special session. But at that time, they were not observing the rules. They were trying to ram it through without having public hearings on it and everything. And Wendy Davis, state senator that none of us ever heard of before, stood up and, in effect, filibustered that bill up until the midnight hour, preventing the legislature from voting on it. And she became, of course, a national star at the time. She is now running for governor of Texas. And it's, let's be honest, for a Republican to be elected governor of Texas is sort of like, I got the same chance to fly to the moon without a spacesuit or without a spaceship. You know what I mean? It's tough, if not impossible. Haven't had a Democratic governor since Ann Richards. But the Republicans hate the fact that she's so strong. They hate the fact that she's a woman, and they hate the fact that she raised so much money the last time. Now she looks like she could be a real threat. She just reported record fundraising for a Democrat in Texas, and so they've gone out on the attack against her. Wayne Slater, whom we're going to talk to a little bit later in the program, they took some information to him. He wrote a big article in the Dallas Morning News, and based on that article, Republicans have gone out and they said she has padded her resume. She is lying about who she really is. She is misrepresenting herself to the American people. Rush Limbaugh has called her a lie. I mean, it's gone all the way up to the top. All right, they're making this a national issue. Rush Limbaugh's called her a liar. Sean Hannity has called her a liar. And here are the charges, right? The charges. The charges are, first of all, she said that she was a single mom at 19. That's not true, they said. She was only a single mom at the age of 21. All right, let's parse that. What really happened is when you look into it, she and her first husband, she had a daughter, separated when she was 19. The divorce didn't actually finalize until she was 21. So I think it's fair to say she was a single mom when she was 19.
Yeah.
Hello. Okay, the other charges. My mother, she said, only had a 6th grade education, and so I didn't have parents who were, I don't know what happened to her father, but didn't have parents who were a mother who really was a great role model when it comes to getting an education. Well, it turns out her mother actually went to school through the 9th grade, not just the 6th grade.
Impeach.
All right, 9th grade is not 6th grade. But, I mean, I think the point is still valid. Her mother didn't even have a high school education. Maybe there was, then they say, she said, well, it was really tough living with her daughter in this trailer as a single mom. It's a tough life. Well, somebody's pointed out that actually she lived in the trailer only a few months, less than a year at any rate. So couldn't have been that bad. I don't know. If I lived in a trailer for a week, I'd be going stir crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
the point is she lived in the trailer with her daughter.
Right.
And she didn't have a lot of money. She was 19. And then the final thing is that her second husband cashed in his 401k to help her through law school. And now she's accused of marrying a sugar daddy and sucking all his gold out of him just to propel her and help her get become a lawyer and have a successful career.
So terrible.
Ann Coulter. Oh, Ann Coulter's back with another book, with the same book with a different title, attacking liberals. She was on, of course, Sean Hannity last night, and Ann Coulter, of all people, goes into the attack on Wendy Davis and the sugar daddy.
She married a sugar daddy whom she asked to meet. He supported her. He raised the kids. Well, she went to Harvard Law School. She went to Harvard Law School, and he said in that Dallas Morning News article, oh my gosh, it's the greatest quote I've ever seen. He says, I quote, "It's ironic. The day after I paid the last..."
Here's what he said. I made the last payment, and it was the next day she left.
But the crucial part there is, it's ironic. No, I think the expression you're looking for is, it's entirely predictable.
And by the way, that now ex-husband, Jeff Davis, who did cash in his 401k and helped her through Harvard Law School, said yesterday he thinks she would make a very capable governor of Texas. Yeah. So he's not out there complaining. He's not out there calling her names. He's not trying to destroy her reputation. I got to tell you, I think the Republicans are making a big mistake here. You know why? Because, again, it looks like, first of all, I think they're making, in many ways, a mountain out of a molehill with the differences. And maybe she's a little sloppy in the way she said things. But she is not lying about her resume. She had a very, very tough life, came from nowhere, and basically because of her drive and her ambition, she has made it all the way to the top, and hell, she could become the governor of Texas. So I think they're making too much about the differences in maybe petty, minor inaccuracies in her resume. But the other thing is, again, it just looks like they can't stand a successful woman. And any successful woman, they've got to tear down, tear down, tear down. You can disagree with Wendy Davis on her policies. Absolutely. And that's fair game. But to make this a total personal attack, I think they are just perpetuating their reputation as being anti-woman. And they've got to reach out to women and to minorities and to LGBT people if they're ever going to win elections outside of Texas.
There have been a lot of men and a lot of women in a similar scenario where you need to further your education or further your job skills and get some help that you need. And when you're in a marriage, even when it's rocky, you're a team. And even when you have kids, you are with that person forever and ever. Amen. Right? You're forever linked, and so you want to see that person do well. So you work together as a team to help your partner.
Yeah. Oh, this is Wendy Davis. Do you realize her husband actually helped pay for her education?
Oh,
I think that's called a good marriage.
And the next question. So 866-55-PRESS. Let's talk about it. Wendy Davis, are the attacks unfair? Do you think they'll work? 866-55-77-377.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get fire adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown,
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, 27 minutes after the hour, and talking about Wendy Davis, by the way, her husband, former husband, Jeff Davis, a guy who cashed in his 401k, he says, get this, his comment was, when you're married to somebody, you put them first. It's pretty simple. So this guy's not out there complaining about what he did. And he also said he cashed in his 401k for other reasons as well. The market had gone south, and his investment advisor said you'd be better off taking the money out of your 401k and taking out a loan and getting some better. So this story really is going south fast, I think. Peter.
We're on Twitter at BP Show. We got a couple of comments on this. Amy says, let me get this straight. Marco Rubio says the way out of poverty is to marry, but if your husband helps you, helps you further your education, that's a different story entirely. Danny Zimmerman says the Republican attacks against Wendy Davis show once again how they are hateful and persistent losers.
Well, that's what it looks like. It's their choice if this is what they want to go. I think Greg Abbott is a Republican Attorney General. He's going to be right. He's going to be the Republican nominee for governor down there in Texas. So I think the real question is not how long did she live in the trailer, right? The question is, who do you want for governor of Texas, Wendy Davis or Greg Abbott? And take a look at the two of them. Look at what they stand for. Look at what their policies are. That's how you make your choice. More calls coming up here on the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Racing dot. I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
34 minutes after the hour, Thursday. Peter Fenn joining us a little bit later as a friend of Bill here on the program. Right now we're talking about big flap down in Texas, where Republicans are accusing Wendy Davis of lying about who she really is. Her story, of course, is that she overcame a life in poverty or growing up in poverty, a very tough background, to get a Harvard law degree and also to serve in the state Senate. Republicans saying that she didn't really struggle because she only lived in a trailer for a few months as a single mom. And they also, of course, accuse her of just marrying this guy, Jeff Davis, as just as a sugar daddy. And once she got out of law school, she dumped him. Jeff Davis doesn't seem to mind. He says, hey, she's my choice for governor. She'd make a great governor. And I did whatever I could to support her because I wanted to when I was married to her. 866-55-PRESS. Do you think these kind of attacks are going to fly? Or do you think it just proves once again that Republicans hate women? Peter.
Calling the show is a great way to reach out and get in touch with us. You can also find us on Twitter at BP Show, One person tweeting in says the GOP strategy of attacking a divorced single mom that made something of herself. Good luck with that. And Karen asks this question: how many wives' educations did Rush Limbaugh pay for? Which is by far my favorite comment of the day.
Well, good point. Or Newt Gingrich.
Sure. Take your pick.
Yeah,
there are plenty of them to choose from.
Yeah, they are certainly, the two of them, really strong supporters of traditional marriage. That's why they've had so many of them each. John, caller from Highbridge, New Jersey. Hey, John, what do you say? Good morning.
Good morning, Bill. I would just like to use your platform to address Ann Coulter directly.
Okay.
And help her with the difference between irony and coincidence.
Yes.
Irony is when a fireman's house burns down. Coincidence is when you make your last college payment for your wife and your divorce comes through.
Ooh,
That's
yeah.
coincidence. And it's also presumptive of her to assume the only reason for the marriage was to get college money, and the only reason for dissolution was the fact that she achieved that.
No, well said. And I think, again, totally contradicted by the man who knows, right? The man who made the payments, the man who cashed in his 401k, the man who was married to Wendy Davis. What the hell does Ann Coulter know, right?
Nothing, clearly.
But that has never stopped her in the past and will not stop her today. John, appreciate hearing from you. I think this whole line of attack on Wendy Davis is going to backfire.
I do too.
And it does say, this is a whole nother conversation, I guess. It also says that Republican or Democrat, this may not be fair, but I think it is true. If you're running against a woman today, you got to be extra special careful. This is also true, I'd say, that nobody would have raised these charges if Wendy Davis were a man. The same charges? I don't think so. I really don't. So you got to recognize that. Secondly, when you're running against a woman, there is an attacking a woman on that personal level. There is a sensitivity there. And I think that Republicans, at least these Republicans in Texas, don't yet get that. They don't understand it.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I think that you have, when you go down this path, you not only piss off women, but you piss off men who have seen and been in a situation like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking back, for example, to Christine O'Donnell, right? That crazy woman from Delaware who ran for the United States Senate. Mm-hmm. Democrats had to be careful there, too.
Sure.
But the difference was that she herself came out on television and said such stupid things like, I am not a witch. Right? And God wanted her to run. And so she put out like plenty of ammunition herself about how crazy she was. You cannot say that about Wendy Davis. She is a serious candidate who, by the way, did come from a dirt poor family, and look where she is today. I mean, she's like the American success story. So give her credit for that. Don't tear her down. And again, just go after her if you don't agree with her on choice, or you don't agree with her on public education, or you don't agree with her on protecting the environment, or whatever the issue is. Fair game. When you go after and try to make a liar out of her, I think they're making a mistake, particularly these issues. Terry out in Holden, Indiana. Terry, what do you think about all of this?
I just think that it's not going to fly. I think the Republican war on women, it's just more of this. But Wendy Davis did have a rough and tumble childhood, as you pointed out, and she's done extremely well for herself. And I don't think that women appreciate this kind of talk when it's just semantics, you know?
And you know what? It's we admire people like Abraham Lincoln, right, who had a rough and tumble childhood, and look what they were able to make of themselves. But it's especially hard for women, and I would say harder for a woman than for a man, right?
Especially in Texas.
Yeah, right. You know, but they don't. You know, they don't have the same opportunities, and a lot of people still feel that, you know, women don't deserve the same advantages or opportunities, right? And they don't have access to them. And she made it. She made it.
She made it. More power to her, and I think she'll be a strong candidate. So I think they're scared.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I'd have to say she was probably a Republican woman that they would say, "Look at her, man!
Yeah. I guarantee it.
God bless America.
Guarantee it.
This is what America is all about." Yep. You know, she's a role model. No, but with Wendy Davis, they're just trying to tear her down. Let's go out to Park Hills, Missouri, or Missouri? Never sure which one. Hello, Lonnie. Good morning.
Let's ask a local.
Good morning. I'm a proud liberal.
All right. In Missouri. Boy, you must be lonely out there, huh?
No. Plenty of people out here.
Good.
All right.
I was going to call in and say that my sister worked while her husband went through college, and my wife's brother went through college while his wife worked the whole time.
All right.
So,
and they were not like sugar daddies or leeches or whatever, right?
No, they just worked hard and tried to get ahead. That's it.
Yeah, and you know what, Lonnie? They were a good married couple, right, who helped each other out. That's what Jeff Davis said, that he helped his wife out, because that's what you do when you're married to somebody. Lonnie, good to hear from you, and I'm glad you called yourself, as I do, a proud liberal and not a progressive. You know, I think I've often said a progressive is a liberal with no backbone. What the hell? Just admit it. We're liberals. Bert in Irwin, Tennessee. Hello, Bert. Good morning.
Yes, I just want to comment on the fact that I've working in the medical profession. I've seen many doctors have their wives support them through school, and what's the difference?
Yeah,
and then get divorced and so forth.
Right? No, absolutely. Again, I think that's what married people do. Right? They help each other out.
I know of
Bert, that's a very good point. I know doctors. Who were helped through medical school. Their wives were working, and they were out there. You know, it's a long time before a doctor makes any money, right, Bert?
Yeah, that's right.
You go through all that internship, and that's a long time. Yeah,
I was going to say, I know someone in a similar situation. He's not going to school to be a doctor, but they're separating, and they're trying to figure out the next steps. And he's furthering his education. She has a good job. She's helping to pay for that. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
It's just life.
No, absolutely. Hey, we're going to move right along here. Thank you so much for the calls. People from all parts of the country talking about Wendy Davis and these, I think, vicious attacks against her, and unsuccessful, I believe, are going to prove to be. When we come back, a major organization yesterday came out and said that what the NSA is doing and gathering all of our phone records is illegal and must stop. We'll talk to Zoe Carpenter from The Nation here on The Bill Press Show.
This is The Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Making 13 minutes before the top of the hour. Yesterday, members of the Privacy and Civil Liberties Oversight Board, a federal panel, came out with their report on the NSA spying program, said the program is illegal and should end. Just the opposite of what President Obama said last Friday, who insisted the program is illegal. We might tweak it a little bit, but it's going to continue. I've told you many times, you want the best on all the important progressive and liberal issues of the day. You can't do better than read The Nation. I've been a subscriber to The Nation for years and years and years. Zoe Carpenter is a reporter for The Nation, and on our news line this morning has been covering this secrecy, intelligence, privacy issue for a long time. Hello, Zoe. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you with us. So, what was let's say the nation's take on President Obama's speech last week, which was painted as a big reform of what NSA was up to? Is that what we got?
No, I think most of the headlines around the country said, Obama proposes modest reforms for the surveillance programs. And it's true, he did suggest a few minor changes, but the bigger story is the fact that he has really endorsed some of the broad principles that are underlying the surveillance state. For example, the idea that the government should have access to bulk records of America's telephone calls. And those are records of who we call, when we call, how long the calls last. And that really can paint a picture, as many others have warned, about our daily habits and who our social networks are.
He also continues to insist that this is necessary and that has proven to be effective in combating terrorism. Where's the evidence of that?
Well, there's very little evidence that the telephone metadata program specifically has had any immediate impact on counterterrorism operations. And, it's really surprising and sort of discomforting to hear Obama use the same rhetoric of fear and terrorism that George Bush used post 9/11 to rally support for some of the overseas operations and the domestic spying programs that he put in place. And we're really hearing that same rhetoric about the need for these programs because of terrorism. And in fact, there's some concern that collecting huge troves of data actually makes us less safe, because we know that after 9/11, or that before 9/11, problems were that the intelligence community weren't sharing information with each other. It wasn't that they didn't have the right information.
No, they had the telephone calls. I mean, again, I've talked often about the Al-Qaeda members who were living in San Diego while they were plotting their attack against the World Trade Center, right? And they were living openly and using their telephones, and the CIA knew they were there, never told the FBI or whatever. The agencies were not cooperating. So I guess the question is, so the president gives this big speech. What is different today? What actually changed, right, for the better after the president's speech?
Well, a couple of things. Concerning the telephone metadata program, now agency officials, NSA officials, have to have a court order from the FISA court, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Authority court,
right,
to query the data. And that's important that they have to at least go before a court. Also, he's asked the Director of National Intelligence and the Attorney General to come up with a plan for moving this data out of government hands, maybe to a third party and maybe to the telecoms.
Right. But the other side of that is, right, they're still going to collect the data, and it's still going to be stored somewhere. And for the time being, we don't know where else it's going to be stored, so it's still going to remain with the NSA until they sort this out, correct? And how long is that going to take?
He's given the agency 60 days to come up with a plan. It's not clear that they will be able to come up with a plan or what the procedure would be after that.
Yeah.
And I think it's important also to note that the telephone metadata program is just one of many surveillance programs that we know thanks to the Edward Snowden leaks.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned Edward Snowden, because that was going to be my next question. I was surprised, maybe I shouldn't have been surprised, that the president went out of his way in his speech to slam Edward Snowden, right? There seems to be an obsession with Edward Snowden, maybe part of this administration's obsession with leakers in general, right? I mean, that they really want to bring him back here and try him on the Espionage Act and treat him like Bradley Manning.
I think it's clear that they do. It creates a huge problem for the administration because, on the one hand, you hear the administration condemning Snowden's actions and saying that it's hurt national security, and then at the same time, they're praising the opportunity to discuss these programs and to have this conversation with the American people. It seems ludicrous to me to say that we would be having this discussion without Edward Snowden. And so if we find this discussion valuable, you have to say then that his leaks are valuable.
Well, we could not have this discussion without Edward Snowden because we would not know what NSA was doing, right? I mean, it's just a fact, right? So I don't get it. I must say I was really disappointed. I think the whole speech amounted to nothing and no change, and I think the president missed an opportunity. And I will continue to read The Nation for any more developments on this. Zoe Carpenter, thank you so much for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
TheNation.com. Check it out online and subscribe to the magazine. Here's my latest copy of it right here.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is possible to read the history of this country as one long struggle to extend the liberties established in our Constitution to everyone in America. In other words, who, according to our laws and culture, gets to be considered a person? The law creates legal personhood, and movements create law and change culture. So, how have the courts passed laws to shape our culture? That history goes way back before Citizens United. 1819, Dartmouth College versus Woodward, Supreme Court case, turned a corporate charter from a government-granted charter to a contract. This ruling gave corporations standing within the Constitution. 1886, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Though the court did not rule on corporate personhood, the decision was subsequently cited as a precedent to hold that a private corporation is entitled to the same 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection as human beings. This makes it impossible for us to make laws that treat local businesses any differently than giant multinational corporations, even if their business practices are deemed to be harmful to workers, the environment and communities, or if they have a history of violating the law. Hale versus Henkel, 1906. The court granted corporations the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protection. Dodge versus Ford Motor Company, 1919. The Michigan Supreme Court says the business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit of the stockholders. Stockholder primacy is established. The purpose of the corporation, according to the court, is no longer to serve the public good, as it had been. It is now to maximize profit for shareholders above all else. Pennsylvania Coal Company versus Mahon, 1922. Corporations get the Fifth Amendment takings clause, meaning if you pass a regulation that impacts a corporation's ability to make a profit, that is deemed a taking, and they can sue for the right to future profits lost. This creates a chilling effect, and local and state governments become much more hesitant to pass laws in the public interest for fear that corporations can claim loss of potential profits that cities and states will be on the hook to pay. Buckley versus Vallejo, 1976. The Supreme Court rules that spending money to influence elections is protected under the First Amendment, in effect saying that money is speech. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, 2010.
Today, the Supreme Court of Chief Justice John Roberts declared that because of the alchemy of its 19th century predecessors in deciding that corporations had all the rights of people, any restrictions on how these corporate beings spend their money on political advertising are unconstitutional.
The court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. It's a rejection of the common sense of the American people.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You bet it is. In the next hour, Jeremy Holden joining us from Media Matters to talk about Glenn Beck's latest admission. Peter, what else is going on?
Quick story on the benefits of Obamacare. Gallup did a poll and asked Americans if you have coverage and who's covered, and they took a look at the numbers from early 2014, this year, and they have found that 16.1% of Americans are uninsured. That is down from 18.6% this time a year ago. So already, from a year, it's down 2.5% of Americans total that are uninsured. So it's getting there.
Yeah. Who says people are not signing up, right?
I mean, 2.5% of America is a big number.
Who says Obamacare is not working? Who says it's going away? Republicans do, and they're dead wrong.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC. Or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Thursday, January 23rd, if you can believe it. Polar vortex is here. It's still pretty cold over most of the country. Sub-zero temperatures in much of the country. But we're here with all the news of the day, as always, coming to you live on Free Speech TV and, of course, on our video stream, which is TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV, and Free Speech TV on your satellite dish on DirecTV or the Dish Network. What's going on? Well, the former governor of Virginia, Bob McDonnell, indicted, as we said yesterday, on 14 counts of taking gifts in exchange for state favors while he was governor. He and his wife both indicted. He says that if he is guilty, then so is President Obama guilty for any favors he might have done for campaign contributors. Why is it that Republicans have to turn every little problem, every little issue into an attack on President Obama? Just accept responsibility for their own actions. Why don't they? Up in New York City, Mayor Bill de Blasio has apologized to the wealthiest people in New York, those on the Upper East Side, those on whom he wants to raise taxes, because they're complaining that their limos got stuck in the snow. And he, of course, has said, well, he could do a better job of plowing the streets up there so their limousine drivers can get around a little easier. President Obama preparing for his big meeting in March 27, going to Rome, to the Vatican, to meet with Pope Francis. They're going to sit down, you bet, and talk about income inequality. We got so much to talk about today. I know you're going to want to join the conversation. You can do so at 866-55-PRESS. That's our toll-free number for the Bill Press Show this Thursday morning.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory? Did you take a chance?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Did you commit to change the world?
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, baby, it's cold outside. You bet. 12 degrees here in Washington, D.C., with the wind chill factor taking it down maybe to single digits, but it's a lot colder than that in most of the country. Stay warm wherever you are, and thank you for joining us here. Good morning and welcome to the Bill Press Show this Thursday, January 23rd, wherever you happen to be in this great land of ours. We are there with you. We are there for you on your local progressive talk radio station, on Free Speech TV, and on our video stream, TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. Booming out not only all across this great land on the video stream, but yesterday, 19 different countries, good friends in 19 different countries around the globe who were part of the program. Sri Lanka, Brazil, Saudi Arabia, Belarus, Denmark.
Becky,
Oh, Herman Cain. Yeah, how about it?
Afghanistan, Waziristan, Pakistan. We've got more stands than the Milwaukee Bowling League. Tuning into the Bill Press Show. Good. Hi, everybody. Hi, everyone.
God.
No?
Turn his mic off.
I'll just show myself out.
Okay, good. But we appreciate the fact that you're with us. TawkrTV, Free Speech, and particularly as your local morning progressive radio station, radio show on your local progressive radio station. We've got the whole team here this morning. You already met one of them, so forget him. Elisa Murphy's here.
Good morning.
Alicia Cruz is standing by to take your calls at 866-55-PRESS. And Cyprian Bolding is here with the cameras on, uncovered, and the lights on. And what do you know? It's the magic of simulcast television. We are going to kick off the top of the hour with Katherine Miller from BuzzFeed talking about the latest scandal here in the Washington area, the latest scandal nationwide for the Republican Party, and that's a big indictment of former governor Bob McDonnell of Virginia, and his wife. Jon Stewart got into it last night and talking about now what particularly are the charges, what are the gifts that he was accepting from this businessman, Johnny Miller?
Now, when we say money and gifts, what are we talking about here?
Tens of thousands of dollars of free flights on the CEO's plane. That $15,000 catered chicken dinner at the governor's daughter's wedding. Another $10,000 for the wedding of the governor's other daughter.
Whoa, 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 whoa. What's wrong with the other daughter? You're going to throw down $15,000 for some beautifully braised chicken marsala for daughter number one, and then daughter number two comes around, I'm also getting married. And he's like, you get a Cobb salad and juice boxes filled with pickle brine. That's what you get. That actually makes you thirstier. We've never liked you, Charlene.
Yeah, it is funny. Why does one daughter, her wedding cost $15,000 and And the other one just 10,000, right?
I mean, parents have their favorite kids, right? Am I?
Guess we know which one is the favorite in the McDonald household.
I mean,
yeah, but actually, the secret is out that the second daughter didn't want to get married, but the governor said, "Come on." You hurry up and get married because I'm going to be out of office here in another 6 months.
Who's going to pay for this?
We're going to get Johnny to pony up here while I'm still in office because he's not going to care once I'm no longer governor.
Good point.
No.
Good point. Anybody else need to get married? I'm footing the bill here.
All right, you got it.
Hurry up while I'm governor.
So we'll start off with Katherine Miller from BuzzFeed talking about Bob McDonnell. Jeremy Holden joins us from Media Matters a little bit later in the hour. And in the next hour, Peter Fenn, our good friend, Democratic strategist, here in studio is a friend of Bill. He and I will bounce out to Dallas to talk with Wayne Slater from the Dallas Morning News about his controversial article on Wendy Davis. All of that, coming up. But first,
this is the
Breaking
Full
News.
Court Press.
Breaking news.
Breaking news.
Breaking
This
news.
just happened mere moments ago. You heard it here first.
I haven't even heard it yet.
According to NBC Miami, I know this is really gonna hurt you. Justin Bieber has been arrested this morning. He was drag racing in Miami Beach, and he was charged with drag racing and a DUI.
Oh, no. He's not old enough
I'm
to drink.
starting to
How'd
think
get
he
his
might
booze?
be trouble. Remember, it was last week we were telling you about how he had the cops raid his house for egging his neighbor's house. Well, he was in a rented Lamborghini, which, by the way, if you rent a Lamborghini, you should be arrested right on the spot because you're going to go drag race with it. That's all there is to do,
right?
Especially in Miami Beach. So he's been arrested.
How old is he now?
Who cares?
Okay.
I honestly
But
don't.
he's not 21.
He's not. I don't think he's 21. No, he's not 21.
No.
I know he's not 21.
All right. So
I think he's like 7. Who knows? It turns out, Bill, love was not enough to keep them together. The Captain and Tennille, the Grammy Award-winning husband and wife pop duo known for their 1975 hit "Love Will Keep Us Together," have filed for divorce. As they were married since 1974, they've been together for a while.
I guess love won't keep them together.
That's right. The Captain, whose real name is Daryl Dragon, which, by the way, if your name is Daryl Dragon, why even get a nickname? That's the coolest name ever.
That's a cool name.
That's a cool name, but he can't. But he just went by Captain instead. Daryl Dragon and Catherine Tennille filed papers last week. He is 71. She is 73. They never had any children, but they didn't make it.
I hear Cyprian crying.
Cyprian is actually genuinely upset about this. You know, this is the rallying cry. You know, love will keep us together. Hey, money's tight.
There are online dating scenes for sites for seniors. They'll be okay.
Our time.
Go on. Seniorsex.com.
Full disclosure on this next story. Is that a site?
I don't know.
Is that a site?
I just made it up.
It should
I just
be.
made it up. I don't know.
Full disclosure for this next story. I am.
They can wear their Google glasses.
No, stop right there. Stop it. You stop. Full disclosure. I am a proud subscriber to Oprah Magazine. I get Oprah Magazine at home. I love it. It turns out. So, and on the cover of every Oprah magazine, there's a picture of Oprah in various poses, and it's usually seasonal. What turns out, Queen Oprah is not happy with the covers anymore. She's tired of shooting them. They take pictures of her, like 3 of them a day, for potential covers for that month's magazine, and she's tired of doing it. So she says, now what they're going to do...
Life's a bitch.
Yeah, right? It's really tough to have people trying to
Right.
photograph you all day. So what they're thinking about doing is decorating just the letter O on the front cover. That's going to be the mainstay through every cover. It's just the letter O. And depending on what the month is, they're going to decorate it seasonally and have that be the theme instead of Oprah's face itself.
Okay.
As a subscriber, I do not support this. I like my Oprah.
Yeah.
I like to see
I love
reassured by
Oprah,
her
but I don't
face
have to
when it
have her
comes to my
picture
door.
on everything I pick up either. You know?
well.
No. I mean, I know it's Oprah's magazine, but I thought the magazine was not necessarily all about Oprah.
It's not. I mean, there are a lot of good things on there, but she is the face of the. Keep me in my Oprah, okay? That's all I ask.
Got it. 14 minutes after the hour. Yes, indeed. It was a bombshell this week that dropped. Not unexpected, maybe, but still, when it dropped, it was federal attorneys filing charges against the, not so long ago, former governor of Virginia, Bob McDonnell, maybe the surprise was, and his wife, Maureen, 14 counts. Katherine Miller has been following this story, reporting on it for BuzzFeed on our newsline this morning. Hello, Katherine. Good morning.
Good morning.
Let's just start with the facts, ma'am. What are the charges against Bob McDonnell and his wife?
They've been charged with conspiracy and corruption charges, fraud charges, basically, accepting a wide range of very expensive gifts from a Virginian political donor, Johnny Williams, in exchange for, prosecutors say, propping up his business, which was formerly, I believe, a tobacco company, but now is a vitamin nutrient supplement type company, not FDA approved. The McDonald's in the complaint, in the charges, sort of met with Williams, met with people from the company, tried to set him up with university officials about the product, but there were never any appointments or contracts given to the business, which is one thing that will be an issue going forward.
So this guy was showering the governor with gifts, and the governor was setting up meetings, sort of trying to help him out, right? Sort of like a classic kind of quid pro quo. That's what's charged. Well, what was I see the governor doing that. What was the wife? What was her role in all of this? Was she going to the meetings, setting up the meetings? What was she doing?
Well, interestingly,
Allegedly.
the wife played, yes, allegedly. The wife played kind of an outsized role in the situation. She set up the meetings. She was the one who was asking the donor for these very elaborate gifts. At one point, she literally admired the donor's watch, asked him what kind of watch it was. He said it was a Rolex. She said, well, Bob McDonnell would like a Rolex. He gave her, the Rolex. He got it. He asked her what it should be inscribed with. She told him the 71st governor of Virginia.
Oh God! Yeah, really.
And then she presented it to him, and it's not, according to the complaint, it would be hard, I would imagine, for Bob McDonnell to be completely ignorant of the situation, considering there's documentation of them being concerned about their financial situation, which was not good. They had made some poor investments, what turned out to be poor real estate investments in the preceding few years right before he was governor, and were in some financial trouble with them. They big real estate investments in the last 10 years are not necessarily a great situation to be in. Yeah. And they were struggling. They were asking for money. They were asking for loans from this donor, and then all on top of that, all these gifts. I think one was 2 Oscar de la Renta dresses that she requested and she wore
for the inauguration. The inauguration, and then they took all kinds of trips on his plane. They went to his vacation house, and it goes on and on. I mean, what was going through the governor's head? I mean, he might have had some money problems, but taking all this stuff from anybody, hello, right?
If I've got money problems and my wife drops a gold Rolex on me, I may have some questions. I may have a question or two. Like, where the hell did this come from?
So the governor said, Katherine Miller again with us from BuzzFeed, the great BuzzFeed site. We love BuzzFeed and all the people who work there. The governor said that he thought that the federal prosecutors were stretching the law. This was really a stretch, that he did nothing illegal. But I mean, giving the special government favors in return for money or for gifts is illegal. No, Katherine?
Well, one of the interesting things is Virginia doesn't have a lot of ethics law about accepting gifts. This is one thing that's going to be coming up pretty soon.
Yeah.
Legislators are already kind of pushing for this. Terry McAuliffe, there's already pressure on Terry McAuliffe to change, the new governor of Virginia, to change the laws on the ethics laws on that side of it. The other side of it is apparently prosecutors will have a pretty high standard that they'll have to prove in terms of the governor actually, the other side of the quid pro quo, that they actually provided something to Williams, the donor, in exchange for all of these gifts.
Something substantial. And then the other thing that that the former governor said is an excuse that a lot of people fall back on. Here he is at his news conference Tuesday evening saying, hey, everybody does this. Here he is.
If it were applied as the law of the land, then nearly every elected official, from President Obama on down, would have to be charged for providing tangible benefits to donors.
Even President Obama's wearing a Rolex that Michelle got from some donor, right? Yeah.
Well, this is what's strange and wild about this case is the actual gifts. It's not so much. Obviously, they'll have to prove that there was for this to be for this to go through to be successful charges. They'll have to prove that he actually provided the donor something very tangible in terms of the benefits.
Right.
But the requests from the couple, from the former governor and his wife, are just so outlandish in terms of Ferraris and golf course trips and these travel
and paying
sounds
for
like Justin Bieber.
And and paying for his two daughters' weddings, right? Yeah. No, it's really hard to defend.
Could he end up going to jail?
The charges that they have been hit with, there's 14 counts. It could be up to 30 years. If they actually get convicted, it will probably be much less than that.
Sure. Yikes.
Whoa. And let me ask you, it seems to me pretty obvious that they had all these charges ready, and they let him go through the procedures of giving his final address to the assembly and then Terry McAuliffe getting sworn in before they dropped the bomb, right?
Yes. There was actually a story in late December, that they had been informed, the couple, the McDonald's had been informed that they were going to be indicted, but that they were delaying that. They were deferring it until this month, likely after McAuliffe had been sworn in.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. We'll see you in January. Yeah.
Have a nice Christmas.
The Iceman cometh. All right. Hey, Catherine, good work and good. Thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you, guys.
All right, Catherine Miller from BuzzFeed, BuzzFeed.com.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where the ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
Enough.
Enough. Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act. Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, here we go. It's the Smiling Bob Show here on a Thursday morning, January 23rd. Good to see you this morning.
Well, they're shooting you from the waist up.
Oh, it's an inside joke here on the Bill Press Show. Lots to talk about in the next half hour. Jeremy Holden will be here from Media Matters. Talk about Glenn Beck and other good stuff. Got to salute my former boss, Jerry Brown, and my good friend, Jerry Brown, governor of California. Yesterday, he gave the State of the State speech. The big news about Jerry Brown is, among other things, that he has brought Jerry Brown, California, back from IOU to AOK, as they say. Got rid of the debt and the deficit, and now California is running a big surplus. And yesterday, he challenged the legislatures. They want to spend all this money, and Jerry Brown said, no, we have to keep some of that money aside for a rainy day. And he said, just go back to the book of Genesis. Joseph gave this advice to the Pharaoh, quote, put away your surplus during the years of great plenty, so you will be ready for the lean years which are sure to follow. So everyone's saying we got to follow that advice. He also pointed out that at one time in his career, he said we should throw the ins out and put the outs in to political office, of course. Now, having once been the youngest governor of California, now being the oldest ever governor of California, he says he has a new slogan, which is, you can't beat experience.
Pretty good. Worked for him.
I think the experience that he has had as governor and as mayor of Oakland and as secretary of state and as attorney general is paying off. He's done a damn good job as governor.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Hey, here we go. It's the Smiling Bob Show here on a Thursday morning, January 23rd. Good to see you this morning. Lots to talk about in the next half hour. Jeremy Holden will be here from Media Matters. Talk about Glenn Beck and other good stuff. Got to salute my former boss, Jerry Brown, and my good friend, Jerry Brown, governor of California. Yesterday, he gave the State of the State speech. The big news about Jerry Brown is, that he has a new slogan, which is, you can't beat experience.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
33 minutes after the hour, Thursday, January 23rd. Coming to you live from our studio on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. The Bill Press Show brought to you today by AFSCME, the good men and women of AFSCME, making up the largest public employee and healthcare workers union in the entire country under President Lee Saunders. For more information on their good work, check out their website at afscme.org, AFSCME.org, making America happen. Indeed. Well, we miss Glenn Beck on Fox News. We used to beat up on him a lot. Now he's over with his own operation called The Blaze. And what does he think about his days on Fox News? Well, you might be surprised by what he said this week. Jeremy Holden is the research director for the Great Media Matters for America, joining us in studio this morning. Hey, Jeremy. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you again for all the good work you guys do. You know, you listen to Glenn Beck so we don't have to. And you listen to Rush so we don't have to.
That's
and you
right.
watch Hannity so we don't have to.
That's right.
So, and it's a great site, MediaMatters.org, for all the latest, particularly on what the right-wingers are up to. And I love the fact that they put out their lies, and then you put out the truth. You know, it's just, and it's right there. Boom, you can just follow the whole thing through. So let's listen. Glenn Beck, as you've been reporting, appears. Why they invited him back? I can't figure out, right?
It's tough to figure out. It really is.
So Megyn Kelly invites Glenn Beck back to talk about whatever, and then she asks him, so when you look back at your time on Fox News, what are your thoughts? Here he is.
I remember it as an awful lot of fun, and that I made an awful lot of mistakes, and I wish I could go back and be more uniting in my language, because I think I played a role, unfortunately, in helping tear the country apart, and it's not who we are. I didn't realize how really fragile the people were. I thought we were kind of a little more in it together.
Yeah. I mean, if there's anybody who specialized in tearing the country apart, right?
Yeah, you almost see him having an out-of-body experience there. Like, I didn't realize the words that I was saying when I said that the president hates white people. I didn't realize that could be divisive when I said it, right?
Gee.
When I portrayed leading progressives as vampires and bloodsuckers in an image, I didn't realize that could be a divisive thing when I did that. It's like, what is he thinking? Or what was he thinking at the time? Did he not know what divisive meant, right?
or when he said that the government is coming after you, they're going to take all your guns, they're going to take your kids. I mean, you got to build a bomb shelter, you got to hoard food.
Right. The food hoarding. That's right. That's right.
Buy
gold.
Yeah, buy gold and the food and medicine in there because you're going to need it because they're coming after you.
That's right.
I mean, it was this stuff he put out there every single day.
Well, and he styled himself. He called himself a progressive hunter, right? He was on the hunt to target progressives and find them. I mean, he set himself up as a divisive character, and now to feign ignorance that he didn't understand that he was being divisive is truly disingenuous as he makes this play to regain some type of credibility in the mainstream.
So I must admit that I don't spend much time every day listening to Glenn Beck on The Blaze. In fact, I have never tuned into The Blaze. So I guess, am I missing something? Is he now a kinder, gentler, softer, bring everybody together voice on The Blaze?
Oh, sure. Cuddly teddy bear. No, like after the Boston Marathon bombing we're approaching the year anniversary of that, right? It's getting close. And so after that, he was immediately calling for President Obama's impeachment. He was talking about the secret information that he had about how this was a global plot. It's a lot of the same type of nonsense that we've been used to with Beck. And I think what you see in these types of comments, and look, this comes on the heels, it was about a month ago that Glenn Beck sat for an interview on CNN, where he was again presenting himself as this kinder, gentler, new Glenn Beck. And I think what you see is this campaign for him to enlarge his audience, enlarge his brand. He can't do that with the type of rhetoric that he's become known for. So you see Glenn Beck, the marketing man, on Fox News and CNN, but you still see the same divisive, progressive hunting Glenn Beck when you tune into The Blaze.
So I'm having computer problems today, so I can't pull it up real fast, but I did yesterday. I remember enough is that 5 years ago, he came out with the flat prediction of what it was going to be like in 2014 in terms of the economy. All the banks were going to be nationalized, right? The government would have taken over. Unemployment would be up in the 20% range. I mean, it was on. He goes on and on and on. None of which is true today. So here's my question is, why do people believe him about anything? He's been so wrong about everything.
Yeah, from beginning.
And so there's still people who listen to him every day and just swallow the Kool-Aid, right?
That's right. Yeah, right. I mean, he's been telling people for years, get into the bunker, disaster's coming. It's right around the corner. It's on the horizon. The thing about the horizon is it's always the horizon. So Glenn Beck can always sell that disaster that's on the horizon because it's always right ahead. But I think that's a great point, Bill. He gave a marker. He said 5 years, this is what it's going to look like. Here we are. That didn't come to pass.
All the banks, insurance companies, oil companies, everything he said would be nationalized. I mean, this was the fear of President Obama, the racist President Obama.
That's right. That's right.
To Glenn Beck. Yeah. But none of it has come to pass. And the same thing you mentioned, the buying of the gold. Now, whatever, maybe you should have a little bit of gold in your portfolio just in case. But he was saying put everything in gold. If you put everything in gold today, you would be in a poorhouse.
That's right.
Because gold has just won't.
And one of the main issues with Glenn Beck when he was hawking gold as part of this snake oil he was selling everybody was that he was being paid by gold to sell gold.
Good point.
And so that was kind of undisclosed. And so what we see with Glenn Beck is the type of demagogue who creates the problem and then tries to sell you the cure. And so you have to start questioning, like, what is Glenn Beck selling right now when he goes on Fox News with this act of contrition, when he goes on CNN to be interviewed by somebody who works for him over at The Blaze, by the way, and he's selling this act of like the normal guy who's learned some lesson and wants to be the new, kinder, gentler Glenn Beck. I think people still have a right to ask, what is Glenn Beck selling?
What is the?
It is funny that that's his legacy, by the way. That you like when Glenn Beck speaks, you have to wonder what's he up to.
Yeah.
You don't accept what he says as just an honest straight from the hip kind of broadcaster, which is what talk radio was sort of founded on. You know, someone just giving their opinion and maybe informing, maybe entertaining. But with Glenn Beck, he's going, I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
How is the Blaze doing?
Well, look,
he's a good businessman.
He is.
Glenn Beck is.
He is.
So is Rush Limbaugh, right? I mean, they could sell, right?
Yeah, and look, he frequently makes the list of some of the more influential media figures. So you're right. As a businessman, as an entertainer, wildly successful. I think you're starting to see a campaign from some of the other voices that you mentioned, certainly Sean Hannity among them, to try and promote Glenn Beck, to encourage people, this campaign to call your cable operator and demand that you get access to the Blaze. So it seems like the struggle to expand the reach continues, but in terms of monetary success, extraordinarily successful. One of the issues becomes this distinction between Glenn Beck the entertainer and Glenn Beck the information provider. If you just take him as like this silly clown businessman, sure, fine. But the worry becomes when he's perceived as some type of truth speaker.
So what really happened? What's the backstory about Glenn Beck and Fox? Was he fired?
Well, that's remains something of a muddled and open question. It certainly became bad for business for Fox News. The amount of that, the advertisers that didn't want to be affiliated with this show was problematic. It just became bad branding. But certainly Glenn Beck has talked about his desire to focus on his multimedia platform, the Blaze, and focus on that. But I don't think there's any question then, as there is now, that Glenn Beck is bad for business.
And Roger Ailes wanted to get rid of him, right?
I mean, that seems like the case. Yeah, definitely. But look, we know that Roger Ailes had backed Glenn Beck. Certainly felt like when he was first asked, why do you stand behind Glenn Beck? He said that the president is racist, hates white people. Roger Ailes backed Glenn Beck and said, yeah, I think there's a lot of truth in what he said. So the extent to which Roger Ailes is separate from the rhetoric of Glenn Beck, I think there's less separation than Roger Ailes might like us to believe.
Now, as far as Fox News is concerned, their number one enemy, of course, is Media Matters. Media Matters has been all over them, from Bill O'Reilly to Sean Hannity to Glenn Beck to Roger Ailes himself. Gabriel Sherman may be giving Media Matters some more ammunition with a new book out about Roger Ailes. We'll get into that with Jeremy Holden from Media Matters, MediaMatters.org, when we come right back here on this Thursday edition of the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is possible to read the history of this country as one long struggle to extend the liberties established in our Constitution to everyone in America. In other words, who, according to our laws and culture, gets to be considered a person? The law creates legal personhood, and movements create law and change culture. So, how have the courts passed laws to shape our culture? That history goes way back before Citizens United. 1819, Dartmouth College versus Woodward, Supreme Court case, turned a corporate charter from a government-granted charter to a contract. This ruling gave corporations standing within the Constitution. 1886, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Though the court did not rule on corporate personhood, the decision was subsequently cited as a precedent to hold that a private corporation is entitled to the same 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection as human beings. This makes it impossible for us to make laws that treat local businesses any differently than giant multinational corporations, even if their business practices are deemed to be harmful to workers, the environment and communities, or if they have a history of violating the law. Hale versus Henkel, 1906. The court granted corporations the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protection. Dodge versus Ford Motor Company, 1919. The Michigan Supreme Court says the business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit of the stockholders. Stockholder primacy is established. The purpose of the corporation, according to the court, is no longer to serve the public good, as it had been. It is now to maximize profit for shareholders above all else. Pennsylvania Coal Company versus Mahon, 1922. Corporations get the Fifth Amendment takings clause, meaning if you pass a regulation that impacts a corporation's ability to make a profit, that is deemed a taking, and they can sue for the right to future profits lost. This creates a chilling effect, and local and state governments become much more hesitant to pass laws in the public interest for fear that corporations can claim loss of potential profits that cities and states will be on the hook to pay. Buckley versus Vallejo, 1976. The Supreme Court rules that spending money to influence elections is protected under the First Amendment, in effect saying that money is speech. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, 2010.
Today, the Supreme Court of Chief Justice John Roberts declared that because of the alchemy of its 19th century predecessors in deciding that corporations had all the rights of people, any restrictions on how these corporate beings spend their money on political advertising are unconstitutional.
The court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. It's a rejection of the common sense of the American people.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
13 minutes before the top of the hour, it is The Bill Press Show. In the next hour, Peter Fenn will be here as a friend of Bill for the entire Democratic strategist, Peter Fenn, for the entire hour. And we'll talk to Wayne Slater down at the Dallas Morning News about his big article on Wendy Davis and what he's stirred up down there. So here in the studio with us, Jeremy Holden from Media Matters. Boy, I remember Jeremy's the research director. Nice to see you, Jeremy. Yeah, I remember before Media Matters existed, man, we had nobody on our side. I mean, there was that old, the right-wing operation, the Media Watch. What is
Media
his name?
Center.
Media Research.
Brent Bozell.
Brent Bozell. Yeah,
that's right.
Brent Bozell. But now we've got Media Matters. They are out there every day, trying to keep the right-wingers honest, but at least exposing their lies or exaggerations. So, Jeremy, this new book on Roger Ailes. Ailes is not happy with Gabriel Sherman's book. Huh?
No, it doesn't seem like it, and certainly didn't cooperate in the writing of that book. No. But yeah, it's a great kind of, I think, reminder, and really pulls together, I think, what a lot of people assumed, what we kind of thought we knew about Roger Ailes and his MO, so to speak. I think one of the big takeaways for me from Gabriel Sherman's reporting in that book is how much Roger Ailes sees himself as a player in Republican politics, right? That he wanted to help Republicans win in 2012.
No doubt about it. He saw himself basically as the ultimate campaign manager.
As the ultimate campaign manager. And in many respects, I had the opportunity to talk to Gabriel Sherman about some of his takeaways as bigger than the Republican Party, as someone who can dictate the direction that it goes. And you see that play out on the airways of Fox News day in and day out, whether it's all the airspace they give to Republican candidates, whether it's the promotional material, the messaging opportunities that they give, cribbing talking points from Republicans, providing talking points to Republican elected officials. And I think we're going to see that play out certainly in 2014 and moving into 2016.
Well, we get a lot of laughs here in the studio because here we have, I don't know whether our viewers on free speech or whatever can see it, but we have the three monitors up in the studio for our radio listeners, with the morning shows, right, on CNN, Fox, and Morning Joe, right? And the difference between what the other two are talking about and what Fox is talking about. I mean, almost every morning, Fox is talking about Benghazi, right? Okay, still.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Or they'll take something and just really blow it up, right? And is there any doubt that direction is coming for what Fox puts on the air from the very top?
Oh, I don't think so. I mean, we've seen the memos coming from the top. We've been able to unearth some of the memos showing that a lot of this is dictated from the top. And certainly when you start to see...
IRS, Benghazi.
That's right.
The word is state stay on this, right? Beat it to death. Don't give up on this. This is we're going to win on this, right?
That's right. I think two words you're not going to you're going to hear a lot about Benghazi and the IRS on Fox News this week. Two words you're not going to hear on Fox much this week are Christie and McDonnell. Right, because these are bad stories for Republicans, which is bad news for Roger Ailes and Fox News' mission, which is to help Republicans. So instead, we're going to pivot and we're going to ask questions that we already have the answers to about Benghazi. We're going to talk about the IRS scandal that Fox has been trying to push for a year now, because it's something that they can throw red meat out to their audience. They can use it to try and bash the media into talking about their stories. And the unfortunate reality is sometimes it works. Sometimes that campaign of Fox to set the agenda of what the rest of the media talks about seeps out, and CNN trying to make a play maybe for some of that Fox audience falls into the trap.
Well, if they were, and you're right, I mean, we were watching last week when everybody was talking about Christie, and Fox was, I forget now, Peter, what they were on, but it was something totally unreal. I mean, that nobody else was talking about that day. And but then, if they do get into, because kind of they have to at least give a nod to the news of the day, we'll talk about Christie. Well, they talk about it, comparing it, what he said about the bridge closing, to what President Obama did not say about Benghazi.
That's
so
right.
They always find a way to link it and turn it into an attack on President Obama. Just like with the McDonald thing, right?
Right.
Well, he took us. Yeah, but Obama does the same thing, right? They always find a way to link them. So.
Yeah, which is a brilliant political campaign strategy. It's just not news, and I think that's what been one of our, one of our goals here is to get people to understand that what Fox is doing is more in line with what political organizations do, not with what news organizations do. Right? When there's news happening, news organizations cover it. Political organizations try to change the story, and that's what we see time and time again out of Fox News.
And yet there is no doubt that Fox is number one in the cable wars and has been for a long time. So whatever you say about Roger Ailes, if you look at what he created out of nothing.
Sure. And as a business leader, and maybe even as an entertainer, we're back to that Glenn Beck dynamic, as creating a form of digital entertainment, wildly successful, creating an actual avenue and a source for news. I think it falls far short of what most people would think of when they think of standards of news and objectivity.
I still can't understand why, when this book came out, Roger Ailes didn't just ignore it, right?
Yeah.
But it was like the fighter in him made it impossible to do, I guess. Huh?
I think that's right. And that
it also
PR
gave
machine...
him another enemy. He doesn't have to attack David Brock and
that's right.
and Jeremy Holden.
That's right.
Attack Gabriel Sherman.
We got a couple days off. But that PR machine is massive and it's hugely aggressive. And I think Gabriel Sherman has seen that in action, how they will go after any critics. One of the funnier component aspects of Sherman's book is this fact that Roger Ailes set up this kind of phony website where they could have these kind of sock puppet characters, these fake avatars go in and talk about how great Fox News is, or go after some of their opponents, often to comedic effect, portraying Roger Ailes as Rocky fighting, Ivan Drago, humorous stuff.
Oh, I didn't see that. Well, and anytime they're attacking you, I hope you take it as a badge of honor. You
Absolutely.
should. You're doing your job.
That's right. That's right.
A great job indeed with Media Matters, MediaMatters.org, and Jeremy Holden, one of the leaders there as the research director. Thanks, Jeremy. Good stuff.
All right, Bill. Thanks
from
me.
all of us.
All right.
I'll be right back. Tell you what the president's up to today.
This is the Bill Press Show.
In the early 20th century, the war to end all wars didn't end war at all. It stoked the fires of change. A traumatized world was ripe for change. The world was ready for modernism. Modernists wanted to forget history, or at least reinterpret it. More than just a style, modernism applied to virtually all forms of creative expression. Innovative artists like Picasso, Escher, Dali, they all started looking at their world differently. Other artists tried painting light itself. These were the Impressionists. Surrealists went a bit further. We had entered the age of the isms. Cubism, symbolism, futurism, constructivism. All these new modern ways of looking at the world blew people away. When it came to architecture, modernists were intrigued by emerging technology. Concrete, glass and steel featured heavily in their buildings. Modernists believed that they could design a better society. Ornamental indulgence was considered a frivolous waste of effort. They thought function should always dictate form, and that mankind's intelligence, creativity and capability for radical thinking should be celebrated. Take the Russian inventor Georgy Krutikov. He suggested an idea for a city held aloft by electrical currents. This at a time when there was barely enough wattage to keep the lights on. Not everything they designed was a resounding success. But you could argue modernism was the single most influential movement of the 20th century. From house music to housewares, tables and chairs to graphic design, all have been created by the aesthetics and ideas of modernism.
And we move right along here on this Thursday edition of the Bill Press Show with 2 hours almost under our belt. We go into hour number 3, losing you on free speech. I'm sorry about that, but complain to them, not to us. Their choice, not ours. So we ask you to move over with us to the video stream, TawkrTV, TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. Wayne Slater joins us from the Dallas Morning News. Peter Fenn here for the entire hour as a friend of Bill.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, President Obama, a fairly quiet day at the White House today. He and the Vice President get their daily briefing at 10 o'clock this morning. And then Barack and Joe meet with the mayors this afternoon at 5:15. It's a reception for the U.S. mayors who are in town for the mayors' conference. And in between then, the governor, what am I saying? The president still just has closed-door meetings with staff, probably working on the State of the Union, I would expect, which is next Tuesday. Our briefing with Press Secretary Jay Carney is at 12:45 today. Peter Fenn here is a friend of Bill for the next hour. Wayne Slater from the Dallas Morning News joining us with all of you.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You could have high blood pressure, not even know it, and you could die from a stroke.
But she's right about that one. Call the American Heart Association or visit our website.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
It is cold, cold, cold outside, about 12 degrees. That's not counting the wind chill here in Washington, D.C., and sub-zero in many parts of the country. Stay warm, and thank you for joining us here. Good morning, good morning. It is Thursday, January 23rd. This is the Bill Press Show. Good to have you with us today. Wherever you happen to be in this great land of ours, we are there with you. We are there for you to bring you the news of the day and, most importantly, give you a chance to talk about it, talk about what's going on, and let us know what it means to you, to your family, to your community. Join us and join the conversation at any time. Hope you're doing well today. We've got lots to talk about here in our last hour together this morning. Our team, entire team, is in place. Peter Ogburn and Elisa Murphy. Good morning.
Good morning.
We're here.
With Alicia Cruz there, screening your calls at 866-55-PRESS, 866-55-PRESS. Peter Ogburn's got his eye on your comments, looking to hear from you on Twitter at BP Show or on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. And for those of you on our video stream at TawkrTV, youtube.com/Tawker, TAWKR, TawkrTV. Cyprian Bolding's got the cameras on and the lights on, and here we are. I got to tell you, there is Bill de Blasio already has a second little scandal. Remember, the first scandal was that he was caught in a pizza parlor in Staten Island eating pizza with a knife and fork.
That's right.
Which is the way they do it in Italy, where de Blasio's ancestors come from, but not in New York. In New York, you're supposed to pick it up and stuff it in your mouth and let all the tomato juice and sauce, just drip down your shirt and tie.
Actually, you do the fold. You take it and you fold it, and that keeps the...
It still drips all over your mouth and your face and down in your shirt, at any rate. So de Blasio, he sort of survived that scandal. And then the second scandal is his second big snowstorm in 21 days hits New York. And he had to admit that the plows did a great job everywhere but the Upper East Side of New York, where, of course, the wealthiest people in New York live, including former Mayor Michael Bloomberg. And the problem there is not that the buses and the cabs can't get around. The limos can't get in and out, right? So the people in the limos were complaining to the mayor. He admitted he didn't do a very good job. But he also said he kept the schools open. They closed, I think, for one day. But the big question was he going to extend it? He had to make the decision that broke his son's heart.
There were many students hoping for a snow day. One of those students resides in my home. I had to make the call to disappoint him last night.
Oh, my poor
Dante.
Go
with the fro.
Go with the fro. Dante had to go to school today. Yeah.
Poor
guy. And
by the way,
and yesterday, I guess, was the day before the schools were closed.
By the way, today, right after we had a nice sunny day yesterday, it was very sunny out yesterday.
It was
very cold, but it was sunny.
Snow didn't go away.
So my kids are still on a 2-hour delay.
Today?
Today. And their argument is that the bus stops are still iced over, and for kids to take the bus.
Bunch of wimps in Washington, D.C. By the way, we do have, Peter, we've got to get it in again. I think we have some breaking news this morning. In case you haven't heard it, it was announced first here on the Bill Press Show about an hour ago.
Yes, indeed. We're going to have it in the full court.
So
stay tuned
for that.
All right,
stay tuned for that. Oh, here we go. Wayne Slater from the Dallas Morning News. We'll be checking in with him a little bit later. He has stirred up a lot of controversy with an article he wrote about Wendy Davis that Republicans are taking advantage of and maybe abusing. But first, right now, full court.
The big breaking news. Now the big breaking news. It has been confirmed by the Opelika Police Department in Miami, Florida.
They're the toughest.
They are tough.
Opelika.
That's the thing you don't want is to get in trouble in Opelika.
I stay away from. I go to Florida. I stay away from Opelika.
Justin Bieber has been arrested for drag racing and charged with a DUI in Miami Beach. He rented a Lamborghini, and this was just hours ago, by the way. He was up all night and decided to cap off his night by renting a Lamborghini and going drag racing while under the influence. So he has been arrested. No other immediate details right now, but the police have confirmed it. Justin Bieber.
I'm starting to get the feeling that this kid could be trouble.
I think you're right. I think he could be a problem. Yeah, I think he could be a problem. We talked yesterday about Warren Buffett and his NCAA billion-dollar bracket. Where he's
I can't wait.
$1 billion.
Yeah. Can't wait. Fill out my bracket.
So he went on Dan Patrick's radio show yesterday, and they talked a little bit about the bracket, but then he also asked him if he ever thought about owning a professional sports team. And Buffett says, when I was a kid, I was a water boy for the Washington football team for 2 games. And I thought to myself, if I ever had a lot of money, I'd buy that team.
Huh.
And so now Washington sports fans
buy it
really don't like the current owner. Dan Snyder, are begging Warren Buffett, please buy the football team. Buffett said, I think Dan Snyder, I don't know whether he would sell or not.
Uh-huh.
Make him an offer.
Exactly.
Make him an offer.
There's nothing that's not for sale.
Exactly. And from football to baseball, if you want to know why people don't like the New York Yankees, this is why. They got themselves a new pitcher yesterday. They signed Masahiro Tanaka. He is from Japan. They signed him to a 7-year contract worth $155 million. And this guy is a total freak. When he was playing in Japan, he went 24-0. That was his record. He didn't lose a game last season with a 1.27 ERA. Now, you put this on top of the other offseason free agents that the Yankees have signed, Jacoby Ellsbury, Brian McCann, Carlos Beltran.
Oh, my God.
They have spent $470 million in the offseason on picking up free agents.
No other team could do that.
No other team could do that. And on top of that, they're paying a ton in luxury taxes. I mean, they are building themselves an all-star roster just because they can.
Yeah, right. They always have. All right, Peter, thank you. Yeah, it has been a rough time, a very rough time for Republican presidential candidates this last week. First of all, Chris Christie was considered certainly one of the front runners for the Republican presidential nomination in 2016. Ran into a little trouble in the George Washington Bridge. We've talked a lot about that. Another person who is certainly rumored, he was on the short list for Mitt Romney to be his vice presidential nominee and was already talked about as one of the front runners for the presidential nominee of the Republican Party in 2016, Bob McDonnell. He now has run into trouble in Virginia, where he is now under indictment on 14 counts of accepting gifts from a Richmond businessman in return for doing trying to line up state agencies to help this guy's business. The classic old quid pro quo. Again, it's a national story because Bob McDonnell is a national figure. Remember, he was also tapped to respond to President Obama's State of the Union address back in 2010, 4 years ago. So, again, prominent national Republican, shot down. His career is over. But it's important to understand exactly what the charges are, okay? Here are some of the charge, 14 counts, and it's against McDonnell and his wife, who was very involved in this alleged trading favors for gifts. But here are the gifts that the McDonald's, according to the documents filed, the McDonald's accepted. And think about this. You're governor of Virginia. And you meet this guy, and he gives you a campaign contribution, and he says, I'd like a little help with my business. Johnny Williams was his name, and he was originally, it was a tobacco producer, and then he gets into the diet supplement game, and he's trying to get, none of his products have been approved by the FDA, so he has a little hard time advertising. So he's trying to get some state agencies or the university to do a little testing maybe and give him some positive publicity that he can use in his ads. That's what he's trying to get, right? Mm-hmm. So the governor, so this guy says, I need some help, governor. And the governor says to him, I guess, I need some help too.
Help me out.
You help me, I help you. And the wife gets in there and says, now here's the kind of help that we need, okay? How about this? So you're governor, and this guy is offering you this stuff. I want to read you the list. And you don't think there's anything wrong with this? What's wrong with you? All right, here we go. An all expenses paid trip to New York, in which they dropped, the McDonald's, $10,000 at Oscar de la Renta, $5,685 at Louis Vuitton, and $2,604 at Bergdorf Goodman. They could have spent a lot less money if they'd gotten off Madison Avenue. How about this? A $50,000 loan with at 5% interest. How about this? $15,000 to cover one daughter's weddings. How about this? $2,380 in charges at the Gidlock Gold Club to Williams' members' account. How about this? The use of Williams' vacation home and his Ferrari while he was there. They called to make sure the Ferrari would be there while they were using the home, so they could use both. A Rolex with the 71st governor of Virginia engraved on the back of it. The wife asks for that particular, engraving. A dinner at La Grata restaurant for the two of them in Richmond, which cost $1,423.
Oh!
Okay, so those they took all these gifts from the business guy and think there's nothing wrong with it. Okay, and here's why would they do this? Maureen McDonald, former cheerleader for the Washington football team, shall we add? She says in one email, "We're broke. I need to." She writes to this business guy, "We're broke. I need to talk to you about inaugural clothing budget. I need answers." And Bob is screaming about the thousands I'm charging up in credit card debt. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I mean, hello, what are they thinking?
I understand, right? Like, I understand that when you get into a position of power like that you're going to have these situations.
You're going to be tempted.
The temptation is there.
Yeah,
right? I understand the temptation. I don't understand how you could be so stupid in this day and age that you think you can get away with something this blatant.
And then McDonald himself sends a text message to Williams.
Yeah, make sure you get it all on record, by the way.
On text message. I'd like to see if you could extend another $20,000 loan for this year. Call if possible, and I'll ask Maureen to send instructions. They're a team of grifters.
Yeah. Make sure you get that on text, in writing.
Right.
Your grift.
So it's not just him, it's her indeed. But McDonald's lamest defense is, I didn't do anything unusual. Let's do that one about where he mentions the other politicians. Every politician does this.
If it were applied as the law of the land, then nearly every elected official, from President Obama on down, would have to be charged for providing tangible benefits to donors.
No, they wouldn't. And no, they don't. I mean, come on. In fact, I might add, Bob McDonald is the first governor of Virginia in all of its history, the first governor of Virginia ever to face criminal charges.
Wow.
Now, Illinois.
Big deal.
Illinois, that's a different story, right? Illinois, it goes with the territory, right? They got a special prison they built for former governors of Illinois, but not for Virginia. So this is not true that everybody does it. It's just, I don't see. How could you possibly get elected governor and be so stupid? 866-55-PRESS. Let's talk about it here. Bob McDonald. I don't think he's going to be the Republican nominee in 2016. He may be watching. He may be watching the returns from his prison cell. Do you think he and Maureen will share a cell?
Oh, man.
That might be a punishment worse than death. 866-55-PRESS. Let's talk about it here Thursday morning on the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show. Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go at 25 minutes after the hour now. Wayne Slater has really stirred things up down in Texas. He, of course, is the chief senior political writer for the Dallas Morning News. Stirred things up with an article he wrote recently about Wendy Davis, pointing out that there were some little inaccuracies in her official bio. Texas Republicans have seized on that, you may have heard, and are all the way up to Sean Hannity and Rush Limbaugh and Coulter jumping into it yesterday. They are now seizing on her and seizing on this article and saying she is a great big fat liar and doesn't deserve even to be taken seriously as a candidate for governor in Texas. We'll talk to Wayne Slater about that and get the real truth of it in the next segment. We also talked a little bit earlier about Glenn Beck. Before we get into Glenn Beck, Peter, just recently, or just in the last segment, pointing out the latest scandal to hit Virginia about former Governor Bob McDonnell. Rick is calling from out in Madison, Wisconsin on 92.1 The Mic. Hey, Rick, what do you think of it?
My thought is the guidelines for this are very plain to see, and he chose to overstep them and involve his wife. State employees here in Wisconsin can't even accept anything more expensive than a cup of coffee for fear of it looking like payback or something. And I'm sure it's about the same in Virginia.
Well, actually,
I think they should be in the same cell together.
Actually, from what we heard earlier this morning from one of the reporters for Catherine Miller from BuzzFeed, and I appreciate the call, Rick. Thanks so much. I'm sure it's cold in Madison. That the laws in Virginia are really pretty lax, if not non-existent, when it comes to accepting gifts. There are no real strict guidelines, and Terry McAuliffe has already said, the new governor, he's going to introduce legislation on that. We talked a little earlier about Glenn Beck, Peter. I know you got some comments on
I just really
Glenn
wanted to
Beck.
get these comments. We've got a lot of good comments about Glenn Beck expressing some remorse over his time at Fox News. Rhonda says on his apology, I'm not buying it one bit. He lost all credibility a long time ago. And Joey Tranchina just asks very simply, if he's so sorry, why doesn't he give all the money back?
Oh,
I don't think that's going to happen.
No, I don't think that's going to happen either. And I'll tell you, for one reason, because he's a rubber himself, but also because he ain't sorry. If he were sorry, he would not be still saying the same stuff and using the same kind of tactics. Okay, Wayne Slater, Wendy Davis, when we come back here on The Bill Press Show.
This is The Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
At 33 minutes after the hour here on a Thursday morning, January 23rd, it is cold in Washington, but not as cold as it is in many parts of the country with the polar vortex back. Stay warm, folks, and thank you for starting off your day here with the Bill Press Show and our little roundup of the news of the day. I got to tell you, I heard about these attacks against Wendy Davis, a Democratic, presumed a Democratic candidate for governor in Texas, and I thought, what's going on? Where's all this coming from? And it turns out it's all based on an article in the Dallas Morning News written by our good friend, senior political writer Wayne Slater. Say it ain't so. Wayne Slater joins us on our newsline this morning. Hello, Wayne.
Hello, Bill. I guess that's apostate Wayne Slater to you.
What are you doing to my girlfriend Wendy? Hey, so well, first of all, your article, I've got it right in front of me. I mean, you make, I think, a legitimate point that she has built her campaign a lot on her resume, and that not everything on her resume is exactly the way it actually happened, right?
Yes.
So tell us about it. What are the inconsistencies, if you will?
That's what we do as reporters, and sometimes folks in one camp like the story, sometimes they don't. In this case, this story has prompted a little attention on both sides. Basically, this compelling and inspirational personal narrative of Wendy Davis, much of which is right, the basic elements of which are all right. Mm-hmm. She was poor, she grew up, she became a single mom. She was in a trailer for a while where she was living with her first husband. She did get married again. She did go to Harvard. She has built a political career that's successful. All of that, those elements are true. What I did is asked the question, is it the full story? And as I don't know about you, Bill. I know that you've spent most of your time in monasteries being perfect. But for the rest of us, if they really told a full story, not the way that campaigns tend to do it, there's more to a story. And in this case, some of the details just didn't add up. They were minor little things like when she says I was a teenage divorced mom living in a trailer. That's not precisely true. She was really divorced when she was 21. She never lived as a divorced mom in the trailer with her first daughter. They actually moved to an apartment. But hey, she was poor. She was really poor.
For a while, as a teenager, before her divorce came through, she did live with her daughter in that trailer, maybe just for a few months, right?
Yeah, just a few months. And so the question is, how many months in a trailer is enough? Well, if it's me, if 1 month is too much.
One day would be too much for me, right? Yeah.
Well, especially here in Texas, where if the air conditioning and the window isn't working, it's a problem.
Got it. Yes. All right. So that's the one thing. The time that
the more fundamental, I think, thing that really I've seen reactions to, and very interesting reactions, is that she has established a narrative that she basically did this on her own. At least that's the way that voters could look. And that's part of the inspiration. She's a woman who was down and brought herself back. What really happened was more complicated. She got married second time to a guy, a much more well-to-do lawyer and title company executive who took care of the kids, paid for, first he paid for to finish her 2 years at TCU, Texas Christian University, paid for the Harvard education, took out a loan, cashed in his 401k, and while she was at Harvard, the kids were back home. Then some years later, when they divorced, as marriages sometimes don't go well, he was granted custody of the daughters. One was 21, so it was a technical thing. The other one was in ninth grade. And she, Wendy Davis, was ordered to pay child support as she went on and built a political career. Now, you can read that lots of different ways. Family dynamics are complicated. What I'm telling you, Bill, is those are the facts, like it or not.
Right. Now, a couple of lessons drawn from here, I think. One is, as a candidate or as a public figure, right, you got to be damn sure that everything you point out is to the letter correct.
If it's part of your narrative, yeah.
Right. I mean, I mean, just a little thing. I'm always sensitive to that. I mean, because I've seen people get burned by this, and you know, like I have 2 bachelor's degrees, one from the University of Niagara, one from the University of Fribourg in Switzerland, and when I enrolled for a doctorate program at the University of California, I was told that my second bachelor's at Fribourg was the equivalent of a master's, and I could go right into the doctorate program without getting a master's, right? But when I put my resume together, I don't say I have a master's degree. I might have the equivalent of it at one time. Somebody told me that, but I will not. I never claimed that, but I did that deliberately because I knew somebody could check that out and say, liar, liar, pants on fire. So you got to be extremely careful. Now, the other side of it, do you think that Republicans have made too much of your story and have taken it too far in attacking her, basically? Well, let's hear it. Here's Sean Hannity, you know, has been making a big deal about this. He has Ann Coulter on last night, Wayne, and they're talking about your story. Here's Ann Coulter jumping in.
She married a sugar daddy whom she asked to meet. He supported her. He raised the kids. Well, she went to Harvard Law School. She went to Harvard Law School, and he said in that Dallas Morning News article, oh my gosh, it's the greatest quote I've ever seen. He says, I quote, "It's ironic. The day after I paid the last..."
Here's what he said. I made the last payment, and it was the next day she left.
But the crucial part there is, it's ironic. No, I think the expression you're looking for is, it's entirely predictable.
So was he just a sugar daddy, Wayne?
No. I mean, that's one way that Ann Coulter might look at it. Rush Limbaugh and others might look at it. Another way to look at this, and again, I try to argue this as a journalist, looking at what are the elements. Another way to look at that is that he was one partner in a marriage, and that how often does that happen, where when you have a marriage, one spouse supports the other. But I got to tell you this, Bill, 2 things. One, when in fact the male partner uses a spouse who supports him either financially or in a supported role, and then is subsequently divorced, that ought to be part of the public record. Like with Newt Gingrich, John McCain, those are examples where that happened, and they ought to be part of the public record and debated. Equally so, I think you can interpret, if you're on the right, this as being tantamount to that. Let me say one other quick thing here. Ann Coulter, my friend, my close person, I've never met her, I have no idea. I don't know. But this Ann Coulter person, very well regarded on the right, she has a column that I woke up this morning to read, and she says, the truth was gently revealed in the Dallas Morning News this week. Far from an attack, this was a puff piece written by Wayne Slater, rabid, partisan, Democrat hack, and co-author of the book Bush's Brain. Well, now, wait a minute. What? And you know what that is? That's cognitive dissonance. And, Bill, I'm going to blame both the left and the right for this.
Don't blame me. I didn't write the damn column.
What I'm saying is, everybody, poor Limbaugh, poor Coulter, they spend their life beating up on people on the left, on Democrats, and they say the media's in their hands. So the moment they get the media writing something they like, how do they treat the media?
Yeah, they attack you, right. Yeah. So, you know, I want to point out, too, as I'm sure you've been reporting, is Jeff Davis doesn't have any bone to pick here with Ann Coulter. He says she'd make a capable governor. He's quoted as saying that. And he also was asked, why did you do this? And he says, well, when you're married, quote, when you're married to someone, you put them first. It's pretty simple, right?
Where did you get that quote, Bill? Where did you get that? You got it in the piece, the main piece, and the right is just reading right over.
Yeah. Exactly. So, by the way, look, we know it's an uphill battle. You and I have talked about that.
Yeah.
But she had a pretty good fundraising quarter, right? Recently, is that?
Yes. Oh, yeah. She raised $12 million from 3 different funds, but she got $12 million she can spend. She's doing well.
Right. So, do you think that's maybe what triggered this a little overreaction to your piece?
The Republicans?
Yeah.
Probably. Look, they're taking him seriously.
Oh, they are.
The Greg Abbott campaign, which incidentally never gave me any information, never tipped me. I don't have good relations with the Greg Abbott campaign. It's another long story because I'm a reporter and everyone hates us. I think she is a candidate who ought to be taken seriously. If things go right for her and some things go wrong for him, she wins. Now, obviously, this story is not positive in her camp, but don't take her lightly in a state where it's going to be an uphill battle, and that's exactly what Republicans are doing.
And you asked really what would have been my first question right from the very beginning, which is, with these, and which she has acknowledged, right?
Yeah.
These minor, you also called them minor discrepancies.
Right.
Her basic story is still holds true. I mean, she came from dirt poor background and has become a very successful woman, right?
As Margaret Carlson, appropriating Saturday Night Live, said, there's a basic truthiness in this in the story. So, yes.
Does it also, Wayne, tell us, maybe fairly or unfairly, that when you're running against a woman, you've got to be pretty careful with your line of attacks, don't you?
I think you've put your finger on what could be the next significant dynamic in this race, and we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
a backlash.
I take this sexism really seriously. I was there covering Ann Richards in 1989 and 1990 and saw it and see it in this race. So there still is sexism. May have abated somewhat in politics. It has not been erased. And so if the right, if conservatives go too far and make this and start beating up on her in personal terms that seem unfair, the fact that she is a woman will not inure to their favor. It could very well be a problem. Now, I don't know of any example in which the right has gone too far. Have you, Bill, in the Tea Party in recent years?
Oh, no. None at all. I'll have to do a little research on that. Well, we want you to know, Wayne, that even though you and Ann Coulter now are best buds, you're still my good friend, and really appreciate your coming on this morning.
I mean, look, we always have room for a Democratic hack like you.
Yeah, right. Another one. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Wayne Slater, senior political writer for the Dallas Morning News. Set the record straight there, I think. It's Dallas News, dallasnews.com.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show. Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, you bet it is. Now 11 minutes before the top of the hour. Great interview there with Wayne Slater. Haven't heard the end of the Wendy Davis story, and that'll be my parting shot coming up just a few minutes right now. Some other political news of the day. Chris Christie still facing, it's almost every day it seems now, some other mayor or public official in New Jersey comes up and says, let me tell you how Chris Christie got even with me, or what Chris Christie did with me. He's got a lot on his hands, a lot to answer for, and he's also the new chair of the Republican Governors Association. Ken Cuccinelli, who ran for former Attorney General of Virginia, ran a horrible campaign for governor, defeated by Terry McAuliffe. He was a guest on the new version of Crossfire on CNN the other night, and he's had some a suggestion for Chris Christie that Christie might not have been too happy to hear from a fellow Republican.
I think just from the perspective of setting aside this as an issue in other races, it makes sense for him to step aside in that role. He does not serve the goals of that organization by staying as chairman.
So he tells Christie, resign as head of the Republican Governors Association. That is the ticket that Chris Christie was hoping to ride all the way to the Republican nomination and to the White House. What was Cuccinelli thinking?
But what is his job right now?
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't have a job.
Isn't he governor of Virginia? Oh, wait.
I mean, there is the question, why would anybody care what Cuccinelli says about anything after, again, the embarrassingly bad campaign he ran for governor of Virginia? But certainly, I'm not sure he does himself any favors by stabbing a fellow Republican in the back. But it does show also that even if Christie is able to get this bridge scandal behind him, he's going to have problems with the right wing of his party. He's going to have problems with the Tea Party Republicans. They don't like him. They don't trust him. No matter how hard he tries to veer to the right, they're never going to trust him, mainly because he got on the helicopter with President Obama and did a good job after Hurricane Sandy. So he's always, they will never accept him.
It is amazing in terms of
and like Mitt Romney, if he gets a nomination, they still won't do much for him.
Right.
Most likely. Speaking of nut jobs on the Republican side, on the Tea Party side, I just want you to know that Michelle Bachmann hasn't ridden off into the sunset yet. She is still in the United States Congress. She is still saying crazy stuff. Yesterday, she appeared on a panel at the American Heritage Foundation, and she talked about the legacy of President Obama. She says the legacy of President Obama, his long-term legacy will be, quote, the establishment of lawlessness in the United States.
Wow.
She's sounding more and more like Glenn Beck.
Really, man.
Lawlessness. Have you noticed? Lawlessness. Cops are not writing tickets anymore. No. Federal officials are not filing charges against former governors, accusing them of corruption anymore. No. We're not. No. There's no law enforcement in the United States at all now under President Obama. Anybody can do anything they want and get away with it. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great time to be a criminal, man.
Nobody's being charged with any crimes. Yeah. They might as well just shut down the courthouses and let all the judges retire because we are now in the period of total lawlessness in the United States, thanks to, according to Michelle Bachmann. of Minnesota. Oh, God. Does anybody take her seriously? Man, I'll tell you. All right.
We'll miss her.
We will miss her. Although I have a feeling she's never really going to go away. As promised, back with a parting shot about Wendy Davis.
This is the Bill Press Show. The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is the Bill Press Show.
And on this Thursday, January 23rd, my parting shot for today. Well, it's 2014, but if you thought the Republican war on women was over, you got that wrong. It didn't go away. It just moved to Texas. Yep. The last thing Texas Republicans want to do is to lose the governor's office to a Democrat, especially to a Democratic woman. So no sooner did State Senator Wendy Davis report record success in fundraising for the last quarter, $12 million, then Texas Republicans started leveling a wave of personal attacks on her, accusing her, we just talked about this with Wayne Slater, of misrepresenting her personal story. Sean Hannity and Rush Limbaugh even called her a liar. But the truth is, Wendy Davis, who did have a little girl, did separate from her husband at age 19. Her divorce had not become final until she was 21. She was still living in that trailer with her daughter as a single mom at the age 19. In other words, her basic life story remains the same. She went from a tough, hard-scrabble life to a phenomenally successful woman, And that is what's driving Texas Republicans crazy. That's my parting shot for today, folks. Susan Page joins us tomorrow, and Chef Tonks from a great restaurant called Acadiana and District Commons here in Washington, D.C. Have a good Thursday. See you back here again tomorrow.
This is the Bill Press Show.